In a moment, you'll be seeing 4 fantastic teams compete for the $25,000 Yale Innovators Prize. The prize is for a creative startup idea with the potential to significantly impact real-world problems. The Yale Innovators Prize is awarded to the for-profit or nonprofit venture that has the potential to produce the most creative or impactful solution to real-world problems that doesn't qualify for any other Startup Yale prize. The Yale Innovators Prize is intended to catalyze a venture that otherwise would not qualify for funding within the Startup Yale prizes. Here today to help us select the winners, we have 5 fantastic judges. Bennett Byerly, yes, is co-founded Verb Energy Incorporated, a food and beverage brand that makes caffeinated protein and energy bars with healthy, clean ingredients during his undergraduate years at Yale. And now is the Director of Finance and Business Operations at S2 Strategies, a climate policy firm focused on maximizing the positive on-the-ground impacts of national, state, and local climate-related policies and investments. Aaron Alila is the founder and copy chief at EO Copy Co., collaborating with both small businesses and large brands like ADP and Oracle to enhance their copy and content strategies. Since December 2021, she has also been the podcast host for Talk Copy to Me, focusing on web content creation and SEO. Even more, Erin is also a co-founding editor of the Spry Literary Journal. Zainab Ilgaz is currently a general partner at Cross Ocean Ventures, where she invests in innovative technology companies and collaborates with founders to secure funding and refine growth strategies. Additionally, she serves as an entrepreneur in residence at Yale Ventures, helping PhD innovators translate their research into startup ventures.
And then we have Eason Yang, who has led global creative teams at Uber, Ogilvy, and Saatchi, earning worldwide recognition, including the Cannes Young Lions Award in 2012. In late 2016, Eason was diagnosed with cancer, which led him to founding Not Entirely Dead, a social enterprise to help cancer survivors navigate life and work transitions. And we have Harana Adisu, who is a multidisciplinary artist and social impact strategist. Her family's journey to the United States and her personal experience growing up in Ethiopia have shaped her career in human rights. Now she incorporates her expertise in various human rights issues into her artistry through Chucha Studios, a creative production agency that aims to reduce social disparities within marginalized communities by connecting the art of visual storytelling with systemic change.
So thank you for being here today. And keep in mind, judges aren't the only ones who get to vote for the best team today. We're also asking our audience to choose your top team, and we'll award an Audience Choice Prize of $2,000 this afternoon as well. So now we're ready for our first team to pitch, Arumi, an AI-powered 3D design software that addresses global housing inequality by making home design and rebuilding simple and affordable, especially during times of crisis, fires, and wars. Welcome. Present button. Can I have the clicker? Hi guys. A raise of hand if you have seen this ugly building right around Dixwell at school. Someone? Okay, you have seen it. Or that building right around I think SOM. Okay, someone else saw it. So 85% of Americans move into this kind of existing construction when they purchase their new home. And in the New Haven downtown area, more than 55% of the existing construction are built before 1949, which means that most of them are in a desperate need of a refresh. Unfortunately, more than 80% of Americans cannot afford a custom designer renovated home, the one like Mark Zuckerberg has in Hawaii. And 50% of Americans cannot afford remodeling that fits the family's need. And 40% of the people don't even get all the furniture upon moving, which means that they have to sleep on a mattress for maybe the first year. Okay, sorry, next slide. Okay, So why is it so expensive to renovate a home in the US? Let me take you through the process. First, you have to get a designer who's gonna coach you more than 40K and make you wait 24 hours before she responds to your next email about the most minor of the edits. And next, you have to find a contractor or procurement company to help you source for materials, because most of the materials, like tiles, especially nice tiles, are not available in retail. And if you go to Home Depot, there's really one kind of molding that you can get. And then the next stage, you spend 3 to 6 months looking for your ideal sofa in Raymond and Flanagan, which has been selling the same boring sofa to old people for the past 30 years. And then the last stage is where the real nightmare begins. You have to employ builders, that's gonna cost around $250,000, and you have to like wash them every single day to make sure that they're not skimping or like putting cement into your wall or something. So this is why you have those forever broken doors, especially not just homes, but also public spaces like shelters, ethnic restaurants. At-risk households are the worst hit. Yeah, so it's not just a safety and health hazard, it also makes people depressed and make our life worse in general. So Arumi is here with a solution. We want to solve procurement and installation issues directly during the design stage. And we have the right team for it. So I've been going undercover in the construction industry for the past 2 years. I started with my own house because apparently as a migrant and a graduate student, I didn't have money for a beautiful big house. And I had to take matters into my own hands. And then I got so good at interior modeling that my neighbors started asking me to fix their houses too. So I started my own home improvement company, and I sourced my materials cheaply from all over the world. My co-founder is a PhD in computer science. He studies spatial intelligence, and we have Wally, who studies supply chain. So this is our product demo. You can just draw your house in 2D, and then we model it into 3D. You can decorate with real furnitures, so no artificial furnitures. We draw none of this in our software. This is all from the retail websites that you need, and it's sorted by the price range that you're able to afford. Our AI styler is able to give you not just design advice, but also installation advice. It's able to tell you that for the number of wooden panels that you buy, how many nails you're gonna need and buy. And we also encourage sustainability by encouraging people to upload existing furniture, secondhand furniture, and then we convert it into a 3D model and we place it in your home. And the best part is you get to buy everything in just one click. Yeah, no, that's the same slide. Okay. And you also get to draw your own rug too. Yeah, but I think we can watch this later. Yeah, so recently we did a project for UNHCR where we modeled all of their real products and their refugee camp. So they're able to source this more directly from us and decreases their cost by 30%, because previously organizations like UN have to rely on existing vendors to sell them furnitures. And the prices has been up like in the past few years because the vendor never changed. So with our software, we solve procurement, and they are able to see how vendors are gonna compete with better products and better prices. So this is our competitive landscape. Instead of taking the whole design process apart, we cover everything for you. So right from design to building and installation. Yeah. So our financial viability is that we rely on 3 revenue sources. E-commerce revenue, which is gonna support our software development. And our software helps enable merchants to list their products, and we earn advertising from it. So we plan to use the money to enhance precision for our AI model, and we are going to purchase a Tensor Core GPU and improve 2D to 3D model precision.
Time is up.
Okay, yeah. So
Thank
time
you,
for Q&A.
Rumi. Okay, so well done. We will now take questions from the judges. Anyone want to start?
Yeah.
Great job. Oh, thank you. Great job. I really like, and I had a chance to read about it before. I really like what you're doing, and the potential implications, especially in the nonprofit sector. Would you mind walking us through a little bit more about your revenue model, how you make money, and the sustainability of that?
Yeah. So we want to be a scalable business. We know it's super important for social impact, which is why we're starting with the greatest total addressable market. And based on our market research, most people are not gonna buy a home straight away, but they have decoration needs, like moving into a rented apartment or just decorating their dorm. Yeah, so our software allows you to design your own rug, design wallpaper, and do furniture like styling. Yeah, and this is able to reach the biggest TAM, which is about 15.2 million. So from the revenue that we get from the consecutive MVPs, we hope to contribute towards higher position in tech. Yeah.
And you're making money by taking a percentage out. For example, if they buy furniture from your site, do you take a piece of that, or is it a membership fee they have to with Canva?
Yeah, so there will be a charge for the software usage, and we earn from merchant listing. In fact, right now we are using IKEA products, and we are charging IKEA for the sale we made. On addition, we also sell our own products that we source directly from factories, especially factories with very unique design that are not very popular in the market. Like we hope to increase their visibility, so we buy directly from them and earn about a 20 to 30% margin. Yeah. That's a question. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I love how viable and direct this is. It's a great business. My question would be, you're aware you do have a lot of competitors, and there are some
yes.
big players. Can you tell us a bit more, like what are your plans to take on your competitors?
Yes. So we do have a lot of competitors, but good thing is that most of them are concentrated in the 3D design field. So what I mean is that when you use Rhino or SketchUp, you're just producing a conceptual drawing, and the conceptual drawing is not something you can buy. So if you see a sofa in Rhino, it's like fake. Yeah, and you have to go to a store to try to find the same one that match your design. So I think that is a very big problem. Yeah, and secondly, this kind of software is very hard for beginners. It takes about 350 hours to design a single family home, but we reduce that time down to 5 hours. And we minus about 50% of the financial cost because there's no middleman. You are getting everything directly during the design stage. Yeah, in fact, this is how the software looks like inside. So you see as you drag something onto your 3D space, you're able to see the price directly and see where's the source. And if you think this is too expensive for you, you can set out filter to only include products from Facebook Marketplace. In fact, that is what we did for Soup Kitchen. Yeah, so they are able to get like a set of old sofa from Facebook Marketplace.
What's the hardest problem that you're working through right now, and how are you solving it as co-founders?
Okay. I would say the hardest problem is tech, and I think he can speak more on it. But to summarize it, there are like a few ways that you can do 3D rendering. Yeah, most popular is Nerf, but we are trying to do it with another method that is more cost efficient, and we hope to run the software on low GPU devices, including cell phone. Yeah, this is something that our competitor can't do, and I think my co-founder can talk about it.
Sure. So traditionally, people, like when we want to reconstruct the environment, we use something like Nerf, but a more compact representation in 3D space is actually meshes. That's like basically the 3D model that you see in video games that is more easily to be run on consumer devices. So we decided to use a like 3D AIGC service for generating the 3D mesh model based on a given RGB image of the furniture. Then we can place the furniture inside the scene. So basically, in this way, we can speed up the process of design. And also, given that there is like recently rapid development in front-end technology, so we can leverage like JavaScript package like 3GS to do like really efficient rendering directly in your browser window. So instead of like using the professional grade software like Rhino that you need to install on your PC, your really powerful PC, you don't really need to install anything with our software. You can just run that in your browser.
Yeah, I think because we care a lot about accessibility, yeah, and I think at the same time, you also get the biggest like market. So it's like money plus social impact at the same time, which is why we really want to make sure our software runs on cell phones or any device that people can afford.
Do you have any protection, intellectual property around the software, the design, and how easy or hard is it for a competitor or potential competitor like Canva to just integrate that, which could also be a potential company that could acquire you at some point to manufacture them?
I think you need to repeat the question. Yeah.
So I was asking what your how do you have any protection around your technology, and how easy or hard is it for a potential competitor like Canva to just come up with a module that has similar capabilities?
Yeah, so our UI is very basic. I think it is indeed simple to copy how it looks like. Yeah, but then it's not quite possible to copy like all the APIs and backend that we have chosen, because first it's in my private repository in GitHub. And secondly, we are also using third-party services who themselves have protection like standards. Yeah, so I think we are very careful about finding the right API and the right partner. Like for example, we don't use like open source like without like permission. At the same time, we make sure that everything we use is not like exactly open. And I think another like more important aspect of this kind of software is the delivery. Like you can sketch up anything and not get a product you want. And I think that for anyone who does DIY, that is extremely frustrating. Yeah, so we have very stable like logistic supply chain that make sure that for things you design, you can actually get it produced in a factory like this. And right now we have over 100 factory partners. So I think that this is the part of the business that is very hard to replicate. Yeah, because I personally went to all the factories, spent a lot of time in China, in Southeast Asia, and the Rust Belt cities like in Missouri. Yeah, I don't think that is something that people can replicate in a short time. Sorry, what? Lead generation, like
just acquiring new customers.
yes. So this is our marketing strategy. Like I have to go out there and and to mingle and get really deep into the DIY community. Yeah, but I think based on what we have done now, it is very promising because DIY people, they are extremely supportive. So we did this cat bed tutorial, and then these bloggers with like way more followers than us, they are willing to join the trend and do this for free for us. And I think that the reason being is because DIY enthusiasts, like when they see a good new project, they're willing to do it with like no commission. Yeah, but if you simply sell furniture, then you probably have to pay the influencer to like engage with you. Yeah, so I also do my own like home renovation and post videos about it. Yeah, and I see a lot of engagement in this area. Yeah, so right now I think our strategy is to use e-commerce sell and like social media, like DIY projects to drive traffic for our software.
How much does it cost to use your software currently? And who's your demographic you're trying to reach? Like who's your client and target?
Yeah. So our target is people between the age of 20 to 40, because I feel like they are younger and they are probably buying their new house or like doing DIY projects. So we are not charging anything for 2D design as of now, yeah, because it's less costly for us. Like we don't have to generate any 3D models. Yeah, and through the point of 2D design is to get people to do like small projects, like punch rugs, like own felt panels. Yeah, so this part is completely free. But if you use our 3D rendering to do like your house or custom furniture, we charge after like the fifth rendering. Yeah.
And how much is it?
Yeah, so our pricing model is about $22 per month for the premium account. Yeah, you get to like render things in 3D.
So the question then becomes, there's so many times people move,
Yeah.
so they use you, they get subscribed, they move in, they get everything done,
Yeah.
3 months project. So what do you, so they're gonna, are they, so they would technically not use your subscription because they're done with the moving piece.
Mhm.
So how do you create that stickiness of the consumer to make sure that they keep on your subscription?
Yeah, so I think like big projects, small projects in between. Yeah, so after they move in, we'll constantly like feed them, advertisements about like, why not do a punch rug? You can give it to your friend. You don't have to do a punch rug like once in your life when you move in. Yeah, so this is how the dashboard looks like. And this part is actually an interactive poster where you just like send the most eye-catching projects. Like, why not do this today? It's very small. It'll only take like half an afternoon. Yeah.
Okay, so time's up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, great job. So next up, we have Summer Store. Summer Store provides college students with a full-service summer store solution, offer free packing supplies, affordable tiered pricing, and flexible moving options. Welcome.
Thank you. All right, let's move the clicker. Is it working? All right, we might have to stand over here. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Kennedy, and this is our COO, Gabriel Haley. We're the creators of Summer Store. Summer Store was created to address a problem that we faced firsthand as low-income, out-of-state college students: the lack of accessible summer storage. Summer Store provides a simplified solution. We move out and move in students and provide packing supplies.
Every year, millions of college students face the problem of finding storage, but traditional self-storage facilities rely on expensive third-party moving companies and rental trucks, driving up the cost, while others are, sorry, I need to use the mic. Good. Every year, millions of college students face the problem of finding storage, but traditional self-storage facilities rely on expensive third-party moving companies and rental trucks, driving up cost, while other storage providers third-party movers, sorry, I'm gonna restart. Every year, millions of college students are struggling with finding storage, but traditional storage, sorry, I might need a second. Every year, millions of students struggle with finding storage, but traditional self-storage facilities require students to secure their storage ahead of time and pay monthly for units they don't fully use, while other storage solutions rely on expensive third-party moving companies and rental trucks, which further drive up the costs. In short, today's options are complicated and present real financial barriers for many students. Luckily for us, Summer Store simplifies student storage by placing 16-foot portable shipping containers in convenient residential areas on campus. In the spring, students register for our service online, receive complimentary packing supplies, and then move out. They can easily move all of their belongings into the nearest container themselves or have one of our student movers do all the heavy lifting for them. And all of this is possible due to our partnership with Units, a nationwide storage provider, allowing us to provide a seamless, scalable, and cost-effective storage solution.
Yeah, and in our first year, we successfully provided our service to 126 students on campus. And we asked our customers about their experience, and we received overwhelmingly positive feedback. It was clear that we needed the infrastructure and support to meet demand where it's at. So this year, as an official storage provider of Yale University, we've expanded significantly, with infrastructure in place to support up to 680 customers. Additionally, Yale will be covering 50% of the costs of our service for select low-income eligible students, allowing them to store with us for as little as $40 for the entire summer.
And the revenue model that makes all of this possible is simple. Students will pay for one of 4 available storage plans covering packing supplies, pickup, storage, and redelivery, with movers as an added optional service. Our current operations maintain minimal fixed costs and overhead expenses, allowing us to meet the demand where it's at.
Yeah, and for our customers, the immediate difference between us and our competitors is our pricing, which drastically undercuts the market. And this is made possible by our storage container-based model, which takes 4 of the major pivot points that our competitors face and combines them into one. Additionally, our web infrastructure fully automates our appointment scheduling and logistics systems, causing our service to be smooth and reliable.
Yeah, and the need for affordable student storage is not just confined to Yale. In fact, there are over 3,500 degree-granting post-secondary institutions in the United States alone, with around 23.5% of students facing similar storage problems. That's around 4.5 million students nationwide. Now, our current goal is to secure the Yale market and refine our model for expansion. With help from the Yale Innovators Prize, we'll be able to move beyond Yale with units ready to service other Connecticut universities as early as next year.
In particular, acquiring a staging lot will allow us to begin our operations at nearby universities by reducing the drive time between our storage facility and those nearby universities. And in light of our commitments to sustainability, will drastically reduce our carbon emissions in the process. Not only that, this year, Summer Store is partnering with GradBag, a nonprofit that supports underserved students, and through the support of the Yale Innovator Prize, we'll be integrating our operations with them, allowing student donations through our service, and we will be providing supply kits to all incoming high-need freshmen. Additionally, we will be expanding our service so that our service will be available to the hundreds of student volunteers who arrive on campus every year for student orientation.
By leveraging Unit's national infrastructure in 35 states and GradBag's working partnership with 22 universities, we have prepared the network needed to efficiently enter new markets around the nation.
Okay, so
very, very tangible problem space and very relevant. It's one of those problems we can actually visualize in a college town like this or anywhere in the country. So it means I do believe there's the scalability. It's going to be great. But the flip side, this seems like a very seasonal business. And when you're in the season, it can be very heavy on the operational side. So have you guys thought about these two things? The seasonal, also the operational stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. The factor that our business is very seasonal has been something that we've taken recognition of from the very beginning. And so one of the challenges that we faced in our first year, of course, was the operational overhead for us. It was a big challenge to move out 126 students. So this year we adopted a different model. Last year we utilized trucks similar to our competitors. And this year, now being partnered with units, they've been offering us incredible advising and handling our logistics during move out, which greatly simplifies the entire move out process for us. We've been able to reduce the amount of pressure that we have in providing movers to students because we are offering students the ability to move themselves out to our containers. So that's reduced a lot of the pressure that we felt as a company during the seasonal demand that we see. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, great job. And I have a son in college, junior, so I can totally see him use this. It's a big problem as a parent, I can tell you that. So thank you for coming up with a solution. I had a question regarding the economics of your model. I want to understand a little bit more. I looked at your website, you charge per item, and then do you charge upon delivery or amount of time it's stored, as well as how much money do you make in the sense that do you charge the students that do the lifting? How does that factor in? And then lastly, if somebody gets injured, do you have liability insurance, or are you thinking about those parts of the business that could cost you at some point?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So with our revenue model, we offer 4 base plans, right? And they include everything that our service provides: packing, supplies, moving services. Sorry, not moving services. That's an optional service. But pick up and drop off the storage containers. So what that enables us to do as a company is, again, our moving services are an additional expense on top of our base plans. And our base plans are created to meet the needs of students from what we've seen in our past year have needed from us. So what we did is in our first year, we collected a lot of data on what students were storing, how many items students were storing. We have a full inventory of the items that students stored with us last year. And then we were able to use that to build the pricing for our services to try to meet the needs as they go. Our service last year was the same price. It was $250, and students could store as much as they wanted with us. So we had to make a change because some students just stored so many items and it wasn't sustainable for us. So we had to create the 4-plan system. But 68% of our customers are going to be choosing our first plan, which is 10 items or below. And that's most of the students that make up the low-income population for us. So, yeah. Does that answer your question? Yeah, no problem. Yes?
You mentioned that your biggest advantage is pricing, which is awesome for affordability as well, too. Have you done much looking into how you can maintain that pricing advantage over time? Do you have enough room in your margin as you scale over time to continue that pricing advantage?
Can you repeat that in the mic?
Sorry. Do you have enough room in your margin profile to maintain your pricing advantage over time? And are you confident enough in your long-term cost structure to maintain that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that question. Our margins are looking great right now. We're at about 55% for each sale. And with that, we have enough flexibility to keep our prices where they are for now. It is in our mission to keep those prices low as we expand out to other universities, because we do have a commitment to our low-income students. And one of the things that we're doing with that is in our partnership program that we're hoping to begin with other universities, we're going to try to continue a cost-sharing program with universities. So if we do in future years have to raise our price, whether it's the cost of containers increasing or labor may increase in price over time, we're going to try to keep our prices at a point where it's still within a market value that students are able to afford that for the move-out services. So, yeah, thank you. No problem.
I know you mentioned that you wanted to kind of work more at Yale this year to kind of figure out what's working before moving on to different markets. What is your timeline for moving into different universities? And is that still going to be a local approach before you go more all over the country, or what is your plan for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking that. Yeah, so our plan for the upcoming years. So we have a 3-part plan, and the second part that we are entering now is opening at nearby universities, and that's going to include 3 universities in the New Haven area. So New Haven University, Quinnipiac, and UConn. So what we're going to try to do in that is we're focusing again this year on just, we're during move out season right now, so we're focusing on that in our operations, but I'm taking a year off next year from school to focus on building up our partnership program with other universities. Building up working relationships with universities is a big part of our model. So that's what we're going to be focusing on the next year for that. Yeah. Did that answer your question? Amazing.
And how do you pay your movers? So units is a partnership. They do the storage, right? But you do everything else in terms of moving the items. How do you recruit them? How much do you pay them? And what are some of your biggest challenges on that piece of the puzzle?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that. And I realized I actually missed a part of your question earlier. We do offer workers' compensation insurance through an external provider. But for our movers, we pay them $25 an hour, $25 per move. And what that enables us to do is our movers are actually independent contractors in their status with us as a company. Our storage coordinators are employees of us. So it's sort of like Uber drivers. Students can sign up to take on shifts where they are connected directly with the student to move out that student themselves. So there's not a lot of connection that we have with our movers in that sense, but we do provide training materials for our movers as well as merchandise that they can wear during their move. Yeah, but one of the challenges we do face, of course, is acquiring movers. So Gabriel over here is working on one of our moving campaigns that's going to happen next Friday, actually, where we're going to place one of our containers outside of a high traffic area on campus, and we're going to be doing sort of what Marines do, where we're going to have a pull-up bar going, and we're handing out energy drinks to students if they sign up for being a mover this term. So yeah, and we're reaching out to athletic groups and things like that on campus. So yeah.
We still have 3 minutes for the Q&A session, so feel free to ask any questions.
Please.
A comment, if you ever decide to go into the California market, that's where I'm from, call me up. I'm very connected to the schools there, so.
Yeah, thank you for that. And of course, aside from funding, we're definitely looking for advising and mentors in this field because we have amazing guys in place right now. We didn't get to that slide quite, but we have amazing mentors right now that are helping us with the logistics. And these are the local owners of the units branch. They've got a lot of experience in this area in transportation and logistics, so they've been super helpful. But we are looking for advisors in legal and financial advising. So.
What do you see as your biggest risk?
That's a great question. Our biggest risk, of course, comes down to the liabilities that we face. That is student insurance or insurance for belongings. We have an agreement with units right now where they are covering catastrophic loss of student items, but we are covering on a rolling balance students' items up to $100 per item. So we offer insurance coverage for students, but yeah.
And I think that would be one of your biggest cost items that you might not have control over. Because insurance carriers will.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's why we and our provider units is maintaining a rolling balance to make sure that we have the assets in hand to pay out for insurance if it's necessary. Yeah.
How do you attract students? How do you attract students as movers? Because this can be a pretty good alternative for their summer jobs or waiting tables.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we hope to do is offer students with the opportunity to make some extra money at the end of the year. Like I said, we're running some marketing campaigns where we're going to be advertising this as an opportunity for you to get fit and do something that's fun and exciting and enjoyable, that students can participate in what is the move-out operations for their peers. There's a lot of excitement that we've seen from our movers in the past year for helping their peer students move out. So we're not worried about necessarily the situation where we're faced with not enough movers in that regard. Yeah, thank you.
What's been the funniest logistical challenge that you've had to deal with, and how did you fix it?
Yeah, during move out last year, I was taking 5.5 credits of classes. And I was taking one of the most difficult computer science courses, and we had a final project due on one of our big move-out days. We were moving out like 50 students on campus, and I was in the front of a truck doing that assignment while it was downpouring in rain, while we were trying to move students out. And that was a huge challenge, and people like Gabriel were there to make it so much better. And we like last second got tarps that we used to like cover students' items while we were moving them out and stuff like that. So yeah, those things do come up, and when they do, we've got people like Gabriel, who's a philosopher, who help us with our contingency planning. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
So next we have Whiskey Bravo. Whiskey Bravo works to improve the lives of military families while teaching youth leadership and service. Students participate in their monthly curriculum, including sending packages to troop deployed, hosting Gold Star children, and teaching formerly homeless veterans computer literacy. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Benjamin Barkoff. I'm the president and founder of Whiskey Bravo, and I'm a sophomore here at Yale. Whiskey Bravo is a nonprofit that works to improve the lives of U.S. military and their families while teaching high schoolers about leadership and service. We like to say we're building the leaders of tomorrow by honoring the heroes of today. Our organization is focused on two unique challenges. The first is the challenge facing American youth. Today, youth volunteer rates stand at their lowest point in 20 years. Apathy is plaguing young people, and America is facing a youth mental health crisis. Additionally, we're also focused on the veteran challenge. Roughly 20 veterans die by suicide every single day. Many veterans feel isolated and alone, and thousands of military families continue to face the challenges of deployments, with some grieving deceased loved ones. Something needs to change. Whiskey Bravo combines these two challenges to offer a low-cost, innovative solution. We see that veterans can inspire students to become change makers in their communities because they've dedicated their lives to serving our country. Students can also offer military interest and gratitude for their service, as well as important resources and recognition through Whiskey Bravo programming. So we offer a spectrum of initiatives that students can participate in. We offer a range so that it can be as much or as little commitment as a student would like. Our base curriculum is our simplest list of initiatives. This involves students in service across the school year. Students do things like sending care packages to troops deployed overseas, providing books to VA patient libraries, and volunteering on Veterans Day and Memorial Day. Students don't do this by themselves. We have a lot of comprehensive automated systems that help support them. We have an operations manual, our monthly newsletter, The Eagle, event instructables, and a volunteer portal. And it works. There's almost an infinite variety of implementations. So these are two examples of our Passion to Project program. This is our most complex curriculum tier, and where students can turn whatever they're passionate about into a project to help someone else. So over here, we have Reese and Augie, who are two high schoolers who love technology and coding, and we're on the school robotics team. They lived in New York City, saw the homelessness crisis firsthand, and wanted to do something about it. Through Whiskey Bravo partnerships, funding, and mentorship, they were able to develop an entire program completely from scratch to offer free computers to formerly homeless veterans, and alongside their high school peers, teach computer literacy classes. And it's not just Augie and Reese. Since 2023, we added 6 new schools, bringing us to an overall impact of 13 schools in 6 states, impacted roughly 1,300 students and 1,600 military families. That's a 40% increase from the previous year. And we proudly placed no effort on growth. This is all through word of mouth. So this is a map of New York City. We do extremely well growing regionally. So friends talk to friends at other schools. They say, Whiskey Bravo has been amazing. I've learned how to make an impact on my community. And so in 4 years, we went from 1 club to 6 clubs. And it's not just regional, it's national too. So passionate individuals have reached out to us across the country saying they want to start a Whiskey Bravo club in their area. And we don't want to stop here. With the Innovators Prize, we hope to add an additional 5 states, which would bring us to a total of 11 states by 2027. We're fortunate to have a network that's capable of scaling with our organization. Roughly 50% of monetary donations come from foundations. Most of these foundations are capable of scaling significantly with our needs. The other roughly 50% comes from nonprofits. We're fortunate to work with a variety of nonprofits. Our longest MOU has been with Carry the Load since 2020. We also work with corporations getting thousands of dollars of in-kind donations, and we've proudly placed no emphasis on individual donors. So that's an easy expansion area for us as our needs grow. This is just a small sample of some of our partners. We worked with top nonprofits, large corporations, schools across the country, and have been fortunate to get media attention from national outlets, including Business Insider and Good Morning America. Trying to go a little quick here. So we have currently 13 clubs in 6 states. With the Innovators Prize, that would catapult us to 50 clubs in 11 states. We see the number of 50 clubs as a critical mass. So currently, we've had a lot of interest from large family foundations and other nonprofits, but they need to see slightly more reach in slightly more areas in order to fund us. So this would catapult us to that point where then with increased foundational funding, we would be able to get 250 clubs in 50 states by 2031.
Perfect, Kenny. Now it's the Q&A session.
I'm happy to take out of your questions. Yes. Oh.
Should I use this? Okay. Well, great job, and thank you so much for what you do for our veterans. It's wonderful. So you're getting most of your funding is through grants or sponsorship through these organizations. In terms of your outreach, have you considered or are you working with Youth Service America? They have a lot of initiatives for nonprofits. That's one question. And the second is, do you work with the Presidential Volunteer Service Award program where you can actually give those awards out as an organization to recruit more volunteers?
So we currently don't work with either of those organizations, but we do work with a variety of youth-focused nonprofits, including Riley's Way Foundation and the Diller Foundation. We're able to offer service hours as well to schools. As we scale, we continue to scale our partnerships, and so we're fortunate also to be able to partner with both military nonprofits as well as student-focused nonprofits. So that is kind of like a dual revenue stream there, and I'll definitely look into that a little bit more.
So solopreneur, bravo to that. You've actually done a lot. So I felt like you basically shared a case study versus pitched an idea. So my question goes, so as a founder, what do you lose sleep on these days? What are your personal struggles with your company? Because you've done a lot, compared to a lot of mature nonprofits, this is already like really impressive. Second question is, tell us a bit more about the story behind your name, Whiskey Bravo, because I could see other connotations. That's why, yeah.
So first to your first question about the solo entrepreneur, I'm not totally a solo entrepreneur, just didn't have time for it. We have 5 board members who all are experienced in nonprofit management, 5 Whiskey Bravo mentors. So those are a lot of teachers and former veterans who help support the students who have over 70 years combined teaching experience, as well as 20 plus student leaders who have dedicated hundreds of hours to the cause. The thing that keeps me up the night is kind of taking this to the next level. I spent last summer focused on making sure our systems were scalable, making sure that what we had would be able to be brought nationally, and I think we're there right now. The real thing is getting that influx of funding to be able to take it to that level. So that's kind of the big push right now and what I've been focused on. As for the name Whiskey Bravo, it's kind of a long story, but when I was very little, about 4 or 5, a Marine from the town where my grandparents lived was killed in Ramadi, Iraq. And they're from a small town, and so I went and I barely knew what death was at the time, and so the idea of giving your life for something bigger than yourself really hit me. And so I started doing little things with my brother, lemonade stands, doing what we could to fundraise and support Wounded Warrior Project at the time. And my brother's name's William, and my name's Benjamin, and it's the NATO phonetic alphabet for William and for Whiskey W and B. And we also have seen now that it's just kind of edgy enough to keep high schoolers interested. Like, they come over, they're like, Whiskey Bravo, what's that? And then it's like a great way to get them into the pipeline. Yeah. Any other questions?
I think you're very clear on what you've done and then what your exact goal is with this money, but can you maybe explain a little bit more how you plan to spend the money to get to the goal of the 50?
Certainly. So each club costs us about $500 a year. It's different across clubs, but that's kind of a rough estimate. And we would focus primarily on reaching students nationally rather than locally, because of that local growth comes fairly easy to us. So this would go to going to educational conferences, presenting, trying to get more earned media. Our story really sells, and so focusing on that, as well as using our national network of nonprofits. So we've been fortunate that Carry the Load and Wounded Warrior Project don't have like a high school program, and so they refer students to us. So we want to focus on getting them the materials that they need to be able to share our mission with other youth out there and really build those partnerships nationally to be able to get our message out.
Regarding the schools you work with, high schools, I assume, do you work with their community engagement directors? Is that how you get connected with the schools? And do they form a chapter? Or how does the partnership in your terms, how does that work?
So we don't rely directly on a community engagement individual, because some schools, especially underfunded schools, don't have that. And so that's one of the nice things about Whiskey Bravo. We have this network of veterans that are untapped, who are sometimes retired and feeling lonely and want to do something. And it's a free resource for underfunded schools to start doing service engagement. So every school assigns a faculty advisor to the club, and that's someone who can really navigate school rules and like legislation. And then we assign that Whiskey Bravo mentor. So that's a veteran who knows the Whiskey Bravo know-how and can really support the school. We kind of realized, working with a variety of different schools with different means, some schools have a teacher who can do everything, and that's fantastic, and some schools don't. And so that's why the Whiskey Bravo mentor is a huge person, and they're a volunteer, and they're getting benefits from it too. And that's also how our kind of dual mission works. We're able to offer this low-cost solution because both people have something to give and can also use a little help. So that's kind of how it works. It's that faculty advisor point person. And then clubs will have meetings during school hours, like during lunchtime, whatever it is. And then they'll have big events each month.
What's the biggest pushback you receive from schools?
Yeah. So I think at first, sometimes it's hard to find kind of that faculty advisor, or also currently like military is heavily politicized, and so sometimes that's a challenge. We're apolitical. We believe that these are men and women who answered a call to serve our country, and it's our responsibility to support them. They don't pick where they go. Politicians pick where they go. And we also have no recruitment aspect. Like, we believe in service in all its forms. We just want students to integrate service into their lives. So sometimes those can be like a challenge, because if we started in New York City, that's kind of sometimes heavily political, supporting the military. And so we've seen that if the student starts the program, they'll normally be able to establish a club, and then any sort of pushback fades away. Once they have one program, they develop those relationships, and it just booms. Like, we see that clubs, after one program, kids talk to kids, they're like, you gotta come to the next one, you gotta keep showing up. And it's just, like, we haven't had any issue with kind of, once it's established, getting it to take off. Schools can sometimes be tricky with like starting and doing all this stuff with like forms and stuff. We've answered all those questions before. We have like templates you can literally just answer the questions from, and that's also where the Whiskey Bravo mentor comes in to help navigate those systems.
That's awesome. I would love to hear a little bit more about the programming itself specifically, like what makes it work. And I'm also curious, what has changed the most about the programming over the years that you've been working on this?
Yeah, certainly. So starting with the biggest change, we started out with thinking that students would just support the military, and we didn't realize like they can do these tremendous things for students, and it's really that mutually beneficial relationship. So I started a club at my high school, not thinking it would be a whole nonprofit, and just like, we'll do projects to support the military. And then once we saw like, well, the military can actually support students, that's when we really knew we had something. And so that's kind of where all the initiatives are based out of. So our monthly curriculum, it like starts with an interest meeting, then students have book drop, that's providing books to VA patient libraries. They'll do like donation bins, get books, and then go to the VA hospital, distribute those books, meet veterans, hear their stories, and the veterans will often like tell stories, learn about the importance. And it's also the whole time a student club head is the one coordinating that, learning important leadership skills, learning like how to be goal-oriented, how to solve problems, things that maybe schools don't teach so well right now. And there's a Whiskey Bravo mentor who's a veteran themselves who's helping facilitate that. So that veteran is also getting fulfillment, feeling like they're appreciated. And so we have a ton of things like that. So that's sending care packages to troops deployed. That's volunteering, serving breakfast to like 500 injured veterans every Veterans Day. That's doing a Carry the Load walk where they honor fallen military, learn their stories, and help carry a flag across the entire country. It's a different thing each month, but the whole intention is about building those relationships.
Okay, great job, Whiskey Bravo. So next we have English Seco, a nonprofit app that provides a free and pedagogically efficient spoken English education to Hindi speakers.
In India, learning English is more lucrative than going to college. 85% of Indians say it's crucial to career success. But in the past, the only way to learn was through private lessons, which cost more for an hour than the average person makes in a day. Only 10% of Indians speak English. But in the last 10 years, 1 billion Indians have gotten smartphones for the first time. Suddenly it's become possible to disseminate language courses everywhere, to everyone. Yet it hasn't happened. While math and science have spawned billion-dollar apps, the user base of the top 5 English apps, including Duolingo, is maybe less than 10 million collectively. Why? Because they fail to produce mastery. A great teacher would never let you sit in silence day after day, but that's what these apps do. They teach language comprehension without sparking language production. You never get to speak. And as every study abroad student knows, speaking is the key to progress. So we've built an app for Hindi speakers that gets you talking, intensely, about 8 times a minute. Our audio lessons mimic the experience of learning with a teacher who explains concepts and then forces you, again and again, to put them into practice. While other apps teach scattered catchphrases like, "How are you?" we give you the grammatical building blocks of the language, so you can creatively generate sentences out loud. Right now, we're building an AI assistant tailored to Indian accents, so you can have live conversations and get feedback. We're planning to roll this out in 3 months and file patents. And we're free. Unlike most of our competitors, we're free. I think we have the right team to scale this up. There's me. I'm a senior studying English and economics in the college. My sophomore summer, I interned at an Indian EdTech nonprofit, and I've taught English with Bridges CSL for 2 years. When I graduate, I'm going to pursue this full time. There's my sister Vasta, our chief technology officer. She's a junior studying math at Princeton. She's a genius. She's way smarter than me. She's published original math research in topology, and she's also studied advanced machine learning, so she's developing our AI. Finally, there's Rahul, our strategic advisor based in Delhi. He's a serial entrepreneur and Princeton grad with extensive connections in the edtech space, and he's helping us raise funds and build partnerships. Since our launch in October 24, we've reached 140,000 active users without raising money. As you can see in the map, we've gained traction throughout Hindi-speaking India. We've maintained a Play Store rating of 4.2 stars, and we've done many focus groups in which we got positive feedback. Perhaps what's been most affirming, though, is the stories we've heard. Someone from the small town of Sawai Madhopur said they showed the app to teachers at the local school, where it's now being used to help teach the children. Someone else talked about how 3 generations of her family will gather around a phone and do lessons together. And we've just scratched the surface. Our target audience is young, upwardly mobile Hindi speakers aged 15 to 35. This could be up to 200 million people. So what will we do with the money? We'll use it to break new ground in language instruction in India. We'll hire as a consultant a linguistics professor at a top Indian university. We're working with this expert. We're going to shape our curriculum to harness specific structural parallels between Hindi and English, which will allow us to teach faster and better than Western apps that don't harness those particularities, whose India content is just a translation of their Spain or Germany content. Over the next year, which I'll be devoting to this, we're going to be rolling out cutting-edge AI, a revolutionary curriculum, and more. I believe this will set us up for exceptional growth. By this time next year, I want to have at least 5 million active users. I also want to start generating revenue. Starting in the fall, we're going to introduce a premium model and/or advertising, depending on what serves our mission best. If just 1% of our current base paid just $6 a year, we'd be making about $100K a year. So we feel confident that we can beat $500K as we grow. But money is a means to an end. When you think of English Seco, I want you to think of that family in North India, 3 generations gathered around a phone. Invest in that. Invest in English Seco. Thank you.
Great job. And last round of the Q&A. Thank you so much. This was a really great presentation. And for me, the first thing I thought about was when my parents first came here, they didn't speak English. And having an app like this to help them would have been so beneficial. So one of my questions is, do you ever plan on scaling outside of one language and making the app evolve? And secondly, do you want the app to only support folks in India or even immigrants in the US?
Well, right now, I think we want to focus on India just because it's a huge market. And I think one of the problems has been, for example, with the Duolingo, people who aren't paying enough attention to being rooted in their context, and they're just like throwing something at them that's come from America or England, whereas people want something that's actually attentive to them. So we want to focus on India, and Hindi speakers is a majority of the population. So for now, we want to do that, but we do have plans to do regional languages later as we gain traction. Like my family speaks Tamil, which is a South Indian language. So my grandmother would be very happy if I did it in Tamil. So we would definitely want to do that.
A great job, and I like the way you are hyper focused on one market, especially the so many dialects, so many different opportunities. And I want to talk back to your revenue model. So what I understand, it's a freemium model, right? A few months or a certain amount for free, and then you want to charge. Can you walk us through your revenue model? And when you say active users, do you have them categorized? How do you qualify an active user? Is it 5 minutes a day, 5 hours a day? And how are you going to monetize on the different active users within your app?
So to the active users question, we're classifying active users as those who are maintaining sustained engagement over like multiple weeks or months. As there are like ways we could break that down. I don't have the exact data for that right now, at least. I mean, it's somewhere. But I think our plan for monetization is freemium, where you're unlocking additional content and features, or advertising. And right now, that's something we plan to roll out in the fall. Over the summer, as we're building our AI, as we're really refining our product, I just want to make sure we have the best product possible, and I want to think about what'll serve our mission best, because we really want to be able to create something that actually helps people. Like all these stories of families who are actually benefiting from the app, that means a lot to us. So I want to make sure we're keeping that in mind. But at the same time, I think given the traction we're getting, the amount of like millions and millions of minutes of app usage, like hundreds of thousands of users, I think we can really generate revenue out of that.
That's great, and it's amazing to hear about the impact per cost as well for this product. It's really exciting. Would love to hear a little bit more about when folks do drop off from usage on your app. What are the top reasons and why? And what have you done so far to address that and re-engage users?
Yeah, so I think in the focus groups, one thing we've noticed as a reason for drop-off is we kind of, I don't know, like when I started, I was like, oh, like we want to be like really, want to be like intense about this, like there's a lot of apps where I guess I was kind of trying to draw a counter to some apps which are only games, and they like don't teach you anything, so you like play and then you haven't learned anything. So we kind of made it like a serious app, for lack of a better word. Like you really are just focusing and like practicing all the time. And something we're working on is realizing, like that's great and people appreciate that, but they also want to be like, they want some level of gamification. We don't have to go like full just learn nothing, like play games, but introducing that element. So that's been one thing we've noticed.
I also love the focus for this app. So as we learn English as a second language, retention is always the most difficult thing. And I am just curious, and also can you tell us a bit more, since you launched this last year, what hasn't really been working as you expected in terms of language retention when these people are learning?
I think one thing which is just, one thing we've consistently through our feedback noticed, or one thing we've been calibrating for, is it's really important to keep repeating like words, phrases in a very consistent and frequent way, like throughout the curriculum. Like, I don't know, sometimes if we introduce something and we don't keep bringing it back, then it doesn't stick the way we want. So just being really mindful, being really attentive to that process of actually making sure everything's being synthesized and resynthesized constantly, so you never lose something that you once got.
And how do you respond that in your app, in your interface with the experience?
I think it's a pedagogical question at this point, where, in our curriculum, we're paying particular attention to bringing back words from, lesson 1 and lesson 10, for example, that sort of thing. And it's also something we want to work on with our AI, in the sense that when we're building this assistant, then it can also keep track of the kinds of what you're missing, where you're slipping. And I don't know, this wasn't the question. I want to say though, as an older brother as well as a founder, Vasta, she really is like a generational talent. Like she solved like 4 big math problems, and like one of those, like for making a little bit of progress in like a vaguely correct direction, someone got a PhD from Princeton, and she like solved that problem. And that's like one of the 3 things she's done. So like, invest in me if you want. Like I'm okay, but like you should invest in her. She's really good.
That's really special, and as a brother, I appreciate that a lot. So that's wonderful. You spoke very clearly about why you're better than Duolingo. What are the competitive threats that you're actually concerned about, and how do you plan to mitigate that in the future?
So there's sort of 2 classes of apps. I mean, one thing I just want to point out is that this is a grossly undersaturated market compared to math and science. It really is. It's actually quite shocking, like how little there's been. But I think there's 2 classes of competitors. One is, like Duolingo, which is an affordable product. Like they have a free version, and there are apps like that where they aren't providing like the speaking practice, the pedagogical insight that's needed. And then there's another class, which is like live lessons, like Ingvarta or that sort of thing. And they're still quite small, to be honest, in part because they recreate all the old problems of affordability. But they have obviously, you're still talking to a teacher like you used to. So one thing we're going to want to do is, while we're obviously undercutting them on price, we don't want to like lose any ground on competition. I think that's why our emergent technology, like a conversation partner, where you can have spontaneous discussions and try to get as close to a teacher as possible without like the huge fee, is going to be important. So we're kind of winning on quality, or really compared to like live tutoring, but also providing at a much lower cost.
How do I word this? I think, as you know, in this day and age, and we're moving in a space where everything is being digitalized. And one of the things, and I think it's beyond this app, that I always ask is, how are we also scaling people's skills? As one thing you mentioned is, this is people's occupation, being a teacher, and that human interaction that we have. And having this app would counter those folks, where you'll see some slight people losing their jobs over this, and these schools closing, for example. So how do you feel about that overall as we navigate this space where we're digitalizing, and how do those skills also translate for folks who have invested their career, and what does this look like for our future? Not only for this app, but just how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think my response is that it's the people who are learning from those teachers are much, much richer than the average Indian. Like, I'll repeat that stat. Like, the cost for an hour, like compared to what an average person makes in a day, it's the whole thing. So the class of customers that those teachers are often attending to is a much wealthier class. I honestly don't think they're gonna like stop learning from a teacher to like come use our app. That's not really our target base, that top 5-7% who are learning English fluently. And obviously I don't wanna like brush away your question, like there surely are some people who might get, I don't know, affected by this, who may be catering to a different group. But what I'll say is just 90% of Indians don't speak English, and it's like, not only is it a huge economic drain, it's a humiliation, because the courts of India, all in English, the medicine and science universities, all in English, parliaments, English, road signs, English. So they're just alienated from their own country every day. And I think that's just, I mean, it's astonishing. And should it be that way? I don't know, but like, I think it's really important to start building a base of fluency so everyone can enjoy that.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to our judges for your time and thoughtful questions. Let's have a round of applause for all of our teams and their great pitches today.